If you want to build your wealth to 6 figures or more, this video is for you. My name is Lisa. I'm a personal finance expert and accredited financial counselor, and I somehow got myself from 6 figures of debt to 6 figures of net worth. And don't worry, if you're not sure what net worth means, we're gonna cover that in this video. The thing is, I never learned personal finance until my 30s, so my journey was a bunch of zigzags, a bunch of roller coasters. It definitely wasn't a straight line. That's why in this video, I wanna share the process of how I personally would approach building my net worth to my first $100,000 all over again if I had to start from scratch today. One thing that I could tell you for sure is that it would take a fraction of the time than it did the last time. But the crazy part is I can't tell you how long it took me to get from zero or from negative to $100,000, because back when I hit that number, I still didn't know anything about personal finance. I didn't know what net worth was. I wasn't tracking it, so I couldn't tell you how long it took. But that's neither here nor there. Just know that nowadays it would take me a lot faster. So here's the thing that I want to cover and get out of the way is we're all coming to the table with different amounts of knowledge, of skills, different behaviors around money, different levels of debt, different income levels, different expenses, and different net worth. So while I can't tell you exactly how long it'll take to go from zero or a negative net worth to a 6-figure net worth like $100,000, what I can share with you is how I would approach it and how I would think about it. So if you can follow these steps in this video, be patient with yourself, stick with it, you can hit that number. So let's jump into this 6-step approach towards getting your finances in order and working towards your first 6 figures of wealth. Step number 1 is to define wealth building activities. So what I mean by this is I'd make sure that I understood exactly what it meant to build wealth. From a practical level, this means you should understand what net worth is, which is what I mentioned earlier, and what actions can help you grow your net worth. So as a financial counselor, I often talk to a lot of people who are in crisis mode when it comes to their finances. Most people want more money, they want wealth, they want financial security. But oftentimes, saying those things and wanting those things tends to feel nebulous. It feels out of reach, or it feels vague. It feels like, how do I even get that? I find that many adults, especially earlier in their careers, they understand the concept of earning money, right, by working or by selling a product or a service, but they're not always sure how to translate that towards meaningful wealth. So let's cover first what it means to build wealth. When you build wealth, what you're doing is you're accumulating assets, you're accumulating value. And typically we define value in terms of dollars. So one number that can define how much wealth we each have is our net worth. Net worth is a simple math equation that consists of all of your assets minus all of your liabilities. So assets include everything you own that has value. So that can be money itself. That can be the money in your bank accounts, but it can also be your investments. It can be your house if you own your house. It can be your car if your car is worth something. It can be cryptocurrency. It can be expensive furniture that you have. It can be anything you own that you have control over that can be reasonably exchanged for money or value. Now, liabilities, on the other hand, these are a lot simpler, but these are your debts. This is what you owe. So liabilities can be your credit card balances, how much you owe on them. It can be student loan balances, auto loans, mortgages, personal loans, any money that you owe another person or entity. So when you take everything you own, the dollar figure amount, the estimates of what everything is worth and valued at, and you subtract everything you owe, you're left with a number called your net worth. So net worth is basically a logistical way to track your wealth. And there are specific things you can do to continue to build up this number. So I know that thinking about wealth and net worth can be overwhelming, so let's just take a closer look at what it takes to build this. So from a logistical standpoint, there are two main elements to your finances that you want to understand. One is your net worth, which we just covered, and the other is your cash flow. So cash flow is the money that comes in and out of your life. It is your paychecks, it's any other income that you get that is money that is coming into your possession. It also involves the money you spend, because this happens on a regular basis. Money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, money goes out. So as simple as it sounds, and you've probably heard this before, but wealth isn't about what you earn, right? It's not about that income. It's about what you actually keep. So here's one way that I like to look at building wealth. You take your income, let's say this is your income, and you try to spend less than you bring in. If you can consistently get income and spend less than that amount, this is going to leave you with some extra money. Now, if building wealth is your goal, then you don't want to take that extra money and go shopping or give it to someone and have it leave your possession. You want to maintain possession of that money. And what that means in this step, when I said wealth building activities, is you want to use that money towards activities or actions, is probably a better word, that are going to help build your net worth. Here are some examples that we're going to touch on later on in the video, but I just want you to understand what I'm describing. So wealth building activities can mean saving. This means holding on to money, keeping possession of it, and you're just going to hold on to it to use it later. But any money you save does become part of your net worth, and it gets added to your assets column. Another wealth building activity is paying off debt. So debt is actually interesting. When you take your assets, so money in your possession, and you pay down your liabilities, your net worth actually doesn't change. It stays the same. That difference between your assets and liabilities, you might have less assets, but you'll also have less liabilities. But the difference between the two pretty much stays the same. But the upside of doing this and paying off debt is you're setting yourself up for the future. You're making sure that you're going to be paying less interest because you don't want to keep paying more and more towards your debts because you simply hold them and are getting charged interest. And number 3, another wealth building activity is investing, which we're going to talk about later. But for investing, not only are you holding on to monetary value, but you're giving it an opportunity to grow without you doing anything. Okay, I know that was a lot for step 1, this whole defining wealth building actions and activities, but trust me, if your goal is to build wealth and to build your net worth, you have to understand like what actions should you actually be taking, because personal finance is a game of making decisions and prioritizing decisions. So once you know what the exact things are that you got to do to build wealth, you're going to keep those top of mind on a day-to-day basis and every time that you have to make a financial decision. All right, once you have an understanding of what types of things can build your wealth, step 2 is to work on increasing your cash flow. So we said earlier, cash flow is this consistent flow of money coming in and money going out. First and foremost, you want to try to get to a place where you are not spending more than you have. So if you are at least even, or if you have a little bit of extra cash flow, that's a good place to start. But what you want to do is increase this even more. And the 2 ways to do that are by, number 1, making more money, and number 2, spending less money. So the more you can do those 2, it increases the amount of extra money you'll have that you can put towards building your net worth. So let's start with making more money. Making more money is not easy, nor does it happen overnight for most people, but that's okay. The whole goal is to keep it in mind that you're going to work towards making more in whatever way you want, and as you make more, you are going to have more to put towards building wealth. Because what we don't want to happen is you make more and then you spend more, which is what we call lifestyle creep. So making more can include working towards a promotion at whatever your current job is. It can mean taking on extra work, working overtime, taking on a second job, taking on some side hustles. It can mean learning new skills for now, because those skills can help you get a raise or a better job in a better industry later on. It can be a lot of different paths, but making more is something you can work on an ongoing basis. Now, spending less, the other piece of it, is also something you can take into consideration, especially if you have a lot of discretionary spend. So you're spending on items that you don't technically need in your life, they're just nice to haves, and if you can cut a little bit of that out, you're gonna have more money towards building wealth. I don't want to stop you from living a lifestyle that you want to live and having the things you want to have in your life, but what I want you to do is to review your spending and your expenses and just keep close tabs of how you are allocating your resources, how you're allocating your money. You just don't want to be spending on things that you don't care about. Forgotten subscriptions, interest on debts that you don't even know how you got into that debt, money you spent on things that you ended up not liking or felt like a waste of money. You just want to be more conscious of these things so that you can be smarter about your spending overall. If building wealth is your goal, if you want to get to that first 6 figures, you're going to start to realize how much faster you can get there when you aren't wasting money, but instead freeing up that cash flow and putting it towards those wealth building activities. All right, step number 3, pay down debt. So if you have debt, you want to get in control of it. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay off all debt in this journey to getting to $100,000 net worth, because guess what? You can have a $100,000 net worth and still have debt, right? You can have $200,000 worth of assets and $100,000 worth of debt. No one likes to have debt, but that would still get you a $100,000 net worth. You would still have $100,000 of wealth if that was the case. But what we want to talk about here is to have a plan to pay off your debt, especially if you have high interest debt. So if this was me and I had to go back in time and I was trying to build up my net worth and I had some debts, I would make a list of all of my debts, figure out who do I owe, how much do I owe, how much is my monthly payment, how much interest am I paying, and most importantly, I would take a look at it and think about what was that debt for? Was that worth it? And how can I prevent taking on more debt in the future, especially if it wasn't worth it? So how I would do this is I would create a debt payoff plan, and I have other videos that talk about that, so feel free to check those out. And I will drop my spreadsheet resource in the description, which can help you create your debt payoff plan. But you can also look up the debt avalanche or the debt snowball methods. I don't care what you use, I just want you to have a plan. Don't just hope your debt is going to be paid off magically someday. You want to be proactive about it. So I want to reiterate how paying off debt fits into this whole goal of getting your first $100,000 of positive net worth. And that is because paying off debt will free up cash flow. Paying off debt typically means you're paying interest to another person, to another company, to some entity, some creditor. And the longer you hold on to that debt, the more you're going to be paying them in interest. As soon as you can get out of those debts, you won't have to pay those debts off anymore. That frees up cash flow, right? That payment you were making to them, you're going to be able to use towards saving and investing. But on top of that, you're not going to be paying them interest. So that technically frees up cash flow that, again, you can use towards saving and investing. All right, step 4, if I had to build up my net worth all over again to 6 figures, I would really think about how to mitigate financial risks. So the reason that I'm calling this step mitigating financial risks and not just build an emergency fund is because the emergency fund is just one piece of the puzzle. So the gist is this: if you can take proper steps to limit your financial risks, then you are going to be more likely to stay on track towards building your net worth. So something that I see a lot with clients is they get into a good rhythm when it comes to starting to make more money, getting spending under control, saving money, investing money, paying off debt. They get into this good habit and they start to grow their net worth, and it's great. But then life happens. Some emergency happens that throws them off track. So a lot of times those emergencies come with financial damage. So Here are ways to reduce your financial risk. Think of these as your shields. These are the things that are going to protect you from not falling off of your plan to build that six-figure net worth and beyond. These are going to help you stay on track. Number one, emergency fund. This is money that you want to keep separate from everything else. Keep it in a high yield savings account if possible. And guess what? This savings bucket, your emergency fund, does count towards your net worth. Now, hopefully you don't have to use it, but if you ever do, at least you have this first line of defense and the rest of your finances won't be affected. You can still continue to grow your net worth, even though you're going to take a little bit out of this if needed. Number two, insurance. So there are different types of insurance for different purposes, and I'm not going to cover them all in this video, but they are there to limit your risk. I know it's super annoying to pay premiums to pay for this insurance, but the point is paying this fixed amount can help you control more potential damage to your finances. And on top of that, it can provide peace of mind. So for example, we all know medical insurance is expensive. A lot of us get it through our jobs, but you might pay for it on your own. Even though it costs a lot, paying for medical insurance is a fixed premium that you have every month. And if some medical emergency happens, even though you might have to pay your deductible, co-pays, co-insurance, there's gonna be a limit to how much you'll have to pay. Without insurance, there is no limit, right? You can end up owing thousands or millions of dollars on something that happens. So on the flip side, you want to align your risk management strategy, so your insurance policies and how much you have in your emergency fund. You want to align that with your life and your own risk tolerance. You don't want to just pay for the most expensive premium and most expensive insurance policy if you don't actually need it. But only you're going to know that, so that's going to be something that you have to figure out on your own and balance that with the rest of your financial goals, such as your saving and investing plan. All right, step number 5, define your short-term financial goals. Hear me out. Sometimes it's emergencies that knock people off track from their goals of building wealth and building their net worth. But a lot of times, it's us that knock ourselves off track. For example, have you ever saved a lot of money and then just spent it all? Okay, maybe you haven't, but I have, and other people have too. So there's nothing wrong with saving for things you really want, whether that's paying for material items, for objects, for experiences, for traveling, for anything else. There's nothing wrong with saving for those things and paying for those. But what I want you to do in this step is to actually define what those things are, because you want to keep those separate from your wealth building goals. A lot of times what I see is people want to save and they want to invest, but they don't know what they're saving and investing for. So if you're saving and investing to build wealth because you want long-term wealth that you can allow to let grow and then use later on, that's one thing. But if you are saving for a car or saving for a trip or saving for a big move or saving to start a family, that's different as well. So what I want you to do in this step is to define what those goals are. What's important to you? Think about maybe the next 5 years or so and think about what major goals do you have in life that may require a lot of money. Real estate, personal property purchases like getting a new car, money to move out of state or to move out of the country, money to go back to school, or money to start a family. List out what these goals are, think about why they're important to you, and then estimate how much you think you're going to need for each of them and whether or not your timelines are feasible. Then, once you have this, it's going to give you a better picture of where these goals fit alongside your overall goals, your financial goals of building financial security. This is actually how a lot of people get wealthy. They will prioritize the wealth building part of things for a certain amount of time, let their investments grow their wealth, and then they'll spend money on these various financial goals along the way. Now on the flip side, a lot of people who end up struggling with finances and unable to build their net worth and fall into debt, it's because they're trying to do everything all at once when they don't have the money or resources yet to support those goals. So sometimes it's a matter of delayed gratification, and I'm not saying you have to limit yourself from all the things you want in life, but I want you to define what those things are so that you can truly prioritize and make smarter financial decisions. All right, step 6, invest. If I had to start over and build my net worth from zero or negative to $100,000, I would invest. Now, you could kind of say that steps 1 through 5, we can erase those and the whole video could be simply on this step. But like I said, this is how I would do it if I had to start over, because I think steps 1 through 5 are super important to help set you up for success here when you start investing. So if I had emergency funds already, if I've paid off my high interest debts, if I knew what money I needed in the short term because I'd know not to invest that money, and if I had my cash flow in order and I was making more money, then I would put every other last dollar I had towards investing. I believe that building your first 6 figures of net worth and beyond, like if you want to make millions, it's going to involve investments. So the more you can invest earlier and the longer you can stay invested, the higher the likelihood you will hit that net worth and you'll hit it as soon as possible. Everyone's situation is different, but here are some common rules of thumb for beginners. Number 1, utilize tax-advantaged accounts when possible. For example, if you use a pre-tax account like a 401k, that's going to lower your taxable income for the current year. Lower taxable income means lower taxes. Lower taxes paid means more money freed up. More money freed up doesn't mean you should go shopping and spend it on more things, but you should use that money towards investing. Number 2, take advantage of employer matches if possible. So not everyone is going to have an employer match in certain accounts like retirement accounts or health savings accounts, but if you do, try to take advantage of that free money. That's going to help grow your net worth so much faster than just your money alone. Number 3, diversify. Don't stock pick individual stocks if you're a beginner. You can utilize a financial advisor, a robo-advisor, or you can invest on your own, but try to invest in diversified funds or definitely get guidance from a professional if you're not sure how to go about that. If you can stay the course and invest for the long term, even if you see some fluctuations at first, over time, you're gonna see that money grow and you will hit that 6-figure goal. Now, I have a bonus tip for those of you who work a 9 to 5, and this is a bonus tip that's gonna help you accelerate towards that 6-figure net worth, and that is to try and maximize your benefits. So I don't see this talked about enough, but depending on where you work, take advantage of any benefits you have at your job. So that could be medical benefits, educational workshops, financial coaching resources, educational reimbursement. There are so many things that your job can sometimes offer that are actually worth a lot of money that you can get for free or at a discount. So I don't mean like see what discounts they have and go out and spend more money to utilize those discounts. I'm saying think about these benefits as a means of investment. For example, if you're increasing your knowledge or your skills because you can take free classes or workshops at work, that's going to relate to step number 2 in increasing your cash flow. That's going to be a free way for you to increase your skills and use those skills to make more money. If you can save money on services that you actually need, this relates to saving money, which also frees up cash flow. And remember, anytime you can increase your cash flow, meaning make more money or spend less, you want to take whatever extra money you have and use it towards wealth building activities, back to step 1, which are saving, paying off debt, and investing. All right, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear from you all. Until next time, peace out.